What's up, YouTube? It's me, the artisanmc, and I'm here to give you my reaction to Magazine Dreams, starring Johnathan Majors. Okay, I talked a little bit about this movie today on my stream, and I didn't want to go into too much detail because I still had a review to do, this reaction to do, and I really want people to go see the movie because I believe it's being swallowed up in the dumpster fire, which is Snow White. Needless to say, this movie stars Johnathan Majors, who has been in the news, I think, a little bit this past couple years. And this is one of the movies that was shelved and was not coming out based on the accusations and the trial that went on with Johnathan Majors and this whole assault thing against his then girlfriend, Grace Jabari. Now, thankfully, this is one of the first pieces of work that have come out from that time. So, although it has a 2025 release, the movie was supposed to be out in 2023. It was supposed to be out a year ago. Now, I was waiting to see this movie because the hype around it was that it was a really good movie for him. He was coming off of Creed. This was the next movie to follow up after Creed 3. It would have been a good, building of momentum for him in his career. The fact that it got shelved and probably wasn't going to come out was an issue. But thankfully, some people with backbone and testicular fortitude stood up, put the money up to make sure this movie got put out into theaters, rode with Johnathan Majors through the media circus that was his trial, and now the movie is in theaters. You might not know that because it's not getting as much promotion as it should, but given what happened and the temperament of people nowadays, it's not surprising. So, Magazine Dreams stars Johnathan Majors in the role of Killian Maddox. Killian Maddox is an aspiring professional bodybuilder. He's an amateur. He's not a professional yet, and he is focused on that goal of becoming a professional bodybuilder so he can get love, admiration, and acclaim due to him. And more so, in a deeper level that makes this film more of a character study, is about having people remember his name and who he is. Now, if you're like me and you only saw the trailer and knew that's what the story was about, you would go into this movie thinking that's it. The story is much deeper than that. Bodybuilding is the backdrop. That's it. Bodybuilding is just the backdrop for the characters that are on the screen performing. And it's mostly Johnathan Majors. There was a small thing I used to do when I was a kid, which was I would always watch movies and look for the movies that had the shortest amount of cast, right? The smallest cast. This movie has a small cast. It's not more than maybe 6 people that you'll interact with the whole time you're on the screen. You're watching the movie. Most of the time, it's Johnathan Majors and his performance as Killian Maddox, which I have to say is awesome. Now, I'm not going to spoil the movie because, like I said, you guys know me. I don't spoil movies. I want you to see it. This is just a reaction. Just a reaction, no spoilers. But I was enthralled with his performance. I really was. And I've said that multiple times because that is the best word to describe the feeling that I had sitting in the seat in the movie theater, big screen, center row, just watching this dude's performance and feeling something for this character and the journey that he was going through. Because make no mistake about it, it is a journey. It is a journey. This character study into this character of Killian shows you the lengths of what a person is willing to do to achieve their goals. But also the need and the importance of having real connections with people and looking for the adulation of people. It's 2 separate things, and we get that confused a lot in this day and age in the media-driven social media culture, where likes and views and clicks and retweets and all that stuff is so majorly important and becomes somebody's whole identity, or can become someone's whole identity. To understand the flip side of that, to where somebody who aspires to have that and doesn't have it in his life right now, gets you to really wondering what's going on with that person. Why do they need this so much? And that's what you get in this character study of Killian Maddox. Now, for the most part, I can see this in a weird way, at least for me, that Killian in some ways might be on the spectrum. And it's something interesting in Hollywood that I see right now, that a lot of really good actors are playing these characters that seem to be a little complex, maybe a little morally gray sometimes. They seem to be playing these characters as more on the spectrum, as opposed to they're just, fully functioning adults. If you think of Vincent D'Onofrio playing the Kingpin might be considered to be on the spectrum a little bit because he has his own weird social tics and stuff like that. If you're looking forward to seeing Ben Affleck play, I forget the character's name, Mr. Gray, in The Accountant 2, that character is definitely on the spectrum. But how Ben Affleck plays the character, he doesn't really know how to connect with people. He connects, but it's really standoffish. Now, something in more recent history that you're watching right now would be Alan Richardson playing Reacher. If you watch the show Reacher on Amazon Prime, you see that Reacher could be considered to be on the spectrum completely. He says the absolute truth out of his mouth with Asperger's type, awe in that people don't get it. It seems to be something in Hollywood that this is the type of way that these actors find to give these nuance to masculine characters without making them, I guess, totally weak or totally standing on their masculinity, that this is just the way they are without any trauma associated. In the case of Killian Maddox and Johnathan Majors' performance, there is some trauma related to how this person is. Make no mistake about it. Now, in the trailers, you can see him, shooting up steroids and stuff like that, would let me know when I first saw the trailer, like, oh man, we're going to go dark with this. I was not prepared. That little glimpse was nothing. That was nothing. We got dark. This movie got dark in parts. I mean, severely, and makes you really become uncomfortable sitting in the theater watching this, because you're going through the journey with this character and like, man, do I like you right now or not? I was on your side 5 minutes ago. Right now, I'm like, oh, I'm scratching my head, bro. I'm really scratching my head about what this means for me riding with you in this. Now, while traumatic things have happened to this character, it is more so implied and lets you know through dialogue as opposed to showing you everything. Okay? This is not Spectrum Kid Theater. It's not a bunch of explosions. It's not a bunch of gunshots. It's not a bunch of spangly suits. None of that. It is a character study and a performance with Johnathan Majors as his character in scenes here and there. And for me, I was all in, completely all in. Now, while there are not a bunch of characters in this, the characters that show up do serve their role and actually have a good performance for the time that they're on the screen. Okay. Now, one of the characters is Killian Maddox's caseworker, played by Harriet Sansom Harris, and she plays Mrs. Patricia Waldron. She's his caseworker. There's a scene in this you totally feel for her. Totally feel for her. You get what she's going through. You get what she's seeing from this character. And you feel for her in that situation. Because in that situation, you are her. You see this person sitting in front of you telling you the story, but you know it ain't really the story. And your heart just breaks for hearing it because you know what the character is doing. You know. She's telling him what she wants to hear. And it is emotional in a way that you don't get to see men, especially black men, masculine black men, emotionally vulnerable like that. And in some ways, I would say that Killian is a kid in a grown man's body in some senses. He is a grown, functioning man. He is. But in some ways, he interacts with people is really childlike. It's really simplistic and childlike. One of the ways in which you see that is in the fact that Killian does not like to be touched. He doesn't. He does not like to be touched. And for somebody who is trying to make their career as a bodybuilder, where you are very vulnerable and exposed down to your skivvies, and all your body and everything is out there to be seen by people. To me, it's a real strange juxtaposition to say that and then say, but I don't like to be touched. Don't touch me. It gives me a lot of Christian Grey vibes from 50 Shades of Grey, whereas something happened. Something happened to this kid. Something happened to him to make him not want to be touched like that. It makes you wonder and look for those underpinnings and those reasonings on why he's like that. What's going on? What's the story? There has to be a story here. What is it? Now, the other character in this is Killian's idol. His idol of Brad Vanderhorn, right? Played by Michael O'Hearn, right? And he is what would be considered the pinnacle bodybuilder, Mr. Olympian, on the cover of all the magazines. He is the ideal that everybody is striving towards. And in this movie, you see Killian really idolizing this person. Pictures of him all up on his wall. When he work out, he does this. But one of the odd things, which is seemingly odd, is that he writes him letters. He writes this man letters, giving his name, his phone number, talking to him like they've been friends forever. And that's the part that makes it seem really odd, because he is really reaching out hard to somebody who is a celebrity, in a sense, to have a connection with them, even though he lives in a world full of people around him. He's looking for this idol on a magazine to have a connection with. That's what makes it kind of strange, because the amount of information he gives up. Now, like I said, I don't spoil the movie, but things like that bear fruit in the movie. And you have to watch it to see where it actually goes. But it is some of the deepest character interactions and responses that I think you have seen in the movie. Definitely of late. Definitely of late. Now, Killian takes care of his grandpa, right? Played by Harrison Page, right? William Lattimore, played by Harrison Page. And his grandfather was kind of infirmed, but his grandfather is an elder black man who was a Vietnam veteran and is now, on oxygen and having to take pills and stuff like that. And you get to learn why Killian lives with his grandfather. What is the reasoning for him living with his grandfather? And what his relationship is with his grandfather in some senses. I will say this, like any good big mama in a story, big grandmama in a story, his grandfather supports him 100%. Gives him that affirmation that he is proud of. But there's something in Killian that doesn't let him hold on to that. Can't really, he heard it, but he wasn't listening in a sense. Now, for me, I thought it was a great movie. I really left the movie deep in thought, really processing what emotions it stirred up for me, what the performance was on the screen, and what it meant for the actor who played this part to have this torment that this character went through so closely mirror what he went through in the public eye not that long ago. And I found it really interesting because this character went through all of this stuff in the movie. With the internet age, he can Google stuff, he can look up videos of, his failings. But this movie was filmed before Johnathan Majors ever went through his crap. So the emotion that I'm seeing on screen is pulling from somewhere, and it's not pulling from he was just dealing with this yesterday and then went back and filmed the scene. No, the movie was done already. So I have to think for Johnathan Majors, this movie is kind of a catharsis in a sense that he's gone through this himself. He is just now coming out of it. And that's what this movie is. Him trying to be back out there doing press junkets and stuff like that to promote a movie that he was in that 2 years ago nobody wouldn't have been thinking twice about watching. Wouldn't have. They might have thought he was rising too fast in Hollywood, but they would have been watching the movie because they know he's an awesome actor. Now, I think the movie will get shit on, and it will be a loss to people who don't see it to not understand what this movie is and see the story that is told in this movie and the performance that's given in this movie. Now, I would recommend it for anybody to see, right? Anybody, even kids. Why? Because it shows the dark side of certain things. How your life can take turns really easily if you don't learn how to have some damn control or deal with your issues. I think it's required watching for Black males, flat out. I mean, from this day forward, I will look at people with a side eye when I find out if they've watched or if they've not, because I'm going to really wonder why. Why not? Now, the one critique I can put on this movie is that a lot of stuff was implied and not said, which made you really think about what was going on. And I think in some scenes, it needed to be said what exactly happened, as opposed to waiting for the character to fill you in on that or some other character to give you kind of the backstory. I think a little bit too much was implied. And I'm saying a little too much, like in saying 5% of it was not enough. You might have needed to give us a full 10% of exposition instead of implying 95%. In certain scenes, that would have worked a little bit better for me, but I don't mind the mental work. I don't mind mental work at all. And the fact that when this movie was over, I'm still sitting in it in the theater like it's a Marvel movie, thinking about what I just saw, thinking about my notes, and everybody else just got up and walked out, and I'm still sitting there just like, no, there was something to this. That's the kind of feeling I go to movies a lot of times for. Like I said, my favorite genre is not action. It happens to be drama or suspense because that's where I like it, on the screen. We can dissect it and look at it and not have people taking it all personal like it's just about them and shit. No. Let's do these character studies. Let's delve into this world. Let's see what this is all about. And ask ourselves some questions about this. Let's talk about it. Let's debate it. Let's discuss it. I like that. And that's what I got from this movie. So I was not disappointed. I was actually more so blown away because I got more than I was even expecting. I'm just expecting dudes to be in there lifting weights and bodybuilding and all that grunt and beefcake bullshit with a little bit of darkness rolled in there because he's taking steroids and shit. No. No, we got much further than all that. Like I said, bodybuilding is a backdrop. The actual story happening in front of that backdrop is Killian Maddox, is Johnathan Majors' performance, and what this character goes through for that 2 hours that he's on the screen. And it's a ride. It is a ride. So my reaction to it is I thought it was awesome. I would see it again, more so with somebody who had not seen it already, just to see how they reacted to it so we can have the discussion about it. And that's what I look for on here. So, like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. This has been my reaction to Magazine Dreams starring Johnathan Majors. It's in theaters right now. I suggest you check it out because I don't think it will be heavily reviewed. I don't. So you might want to check it out to find out what you think about it. Thanks for showing up. And I've been artisanmc, and I will see you next time. Peace.